Hey guys, Dimensional Sight here, back with another video. And for today's video, we are going to be looking at something called Stupas. And we're also going to, and they have other names as well besides that, but I'm just going to refer to them as Stupas. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. As well as we're going to be looking at towers, we're going to be looking at dome structures, and we're going to be looking at the implications of generating free electricity or free energy as well. So and just hidden history, history cover up type stuff. So that's what we're going to be looking at in this video. And what you're looking at right now on your screen is a picture of a stupa. This is basically what the kind of standard version of them looks like. And off in the distance you have Mount Kailash. And if you've seen either of my previous videos on Mount Kailash, you will know that I do believe that Mount Kailash was once a giant structure, a giant building. And I have every reason to suspect that Mount Kailash was in fact had a giant stupa on top of it as well. So it would have been this, it didn't have to be shaped exactly like this, but let's say that it was. You know, these levels here as they go up the stupa, let's just pretend that these are levels going up Mount Kailash before it was destroyed in the cataclysm. And let's say it was about this tall, and then maybe on top of that a giant antenna sticking up right here. So I do think that potentially that is what Mount Kailash looked like at one time. It may have had a giant stupa on top. And that would have been because the entire structure and all the buildings around it were all generating free energy from that design. Maybe too much free energy, you know? Is that part of what destroyed them? I've thought of that before, is if you had this frequency technology and you took it to an extreme and you maybe overpowered it, and it could potentially, could it potentially have melted because of it overpowered, it was too powerful. That's one idea. Um, Also, today's video is going to be a little bit longer. I do hope you stick around for the whole thing. There's going to be a lot of interesting things that you're going to see and ideas. There's not going to be anomalies in this one, so we're not going to get too much into that. We're going to get more into this structural, technological, hidden history stuff. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next image now. This is another one of the stupas surrounding Mount Kailash right here in the background. This is a fairly large one, much closer to the mountain than the last one we looked at. And then there's a bunch of smaller ones also near Mount Kailash. And in Buddhism, they believe that, or they use these as almost like burial mounds. I think their ashes are maybe buried beneath each one, but kind of like a headstone or a gravestone, and then you put your stupa near whoever you consider your master to be, I believe is what I was reading. But I'm not going to really be getting too much into what today they call the history of these things, because I'm going to be just looking at them from my own third person point of view, let's say, using dimensional sight, let's say, and just letting the image show me what it wants to show me, rather than going back and basically getting brainwashed by what I'm being told is the real history, when we know that a lot of our history has been covered up and changed and we're being lied to about it. So I'm just going to go from the perspective of starting from what am I looking at here, when I just first look at it, not knowing what it is. So, I do think these smaller stupas, are they generating energy at this point in time? Is the energy even electricity, or is it some sort of a vril type of energy? Is there any energy being generated at all? Maybe not. But, that those things, these there's things I'm trying to discover. I don't know the answer to them right now. So this is a pretty famous uh, structure. I'm calling it a stupa. Others do as well, I think. But as you and you're going to see this theme a lot, where you've got the one big one in the middle going up, and then you've got the four surrounding kind of smaller stupas, and then even these ones here, you can see they've each got four surrounding, so it's kind of like a micro version of the larger right there, going out in a very symmetrical design. Um, and then I'm going to give you a theory. I'm not going to tell you the theory right now yet of what you do with this, what is the whole entire purpose of this. I'm going to get to that a little bit later in the video, so hopefully you'll keep watching here. uh, let's go to the next one. Here's another one somewhere. I don't know, guys, the locations of all these images. I just had to, it took me hours to, this video has been many hours in the making. I've done a lot of research. I kind of went down a rabbit hole on this one. That's why I said it's going to be a little bit longer, but you're going to find out you're going to see a lot of cool stuff. So here's another stupa somewhere. And it just, I do want to talk about this one a little bit more, because first you're going to see the levels going up is a common theme, and then the dome is also very important in a lot of these, and then the dome with the antenna on top. And I'm going to just call it the antenna, or the stupa, whatever you want to call it. In this one, what you'll see is you've got the guy sitting underneath this doorway, or I don't know what you want to call, maybe there is a proper name for what this is, this little cavity that you go into here, and he's sitting. And then the shape of this is kind of important. Now you might say this is a vulva symbol. That's definitely a possibility I was thinking about. I'm thinking this is more for like whatever machine this whole structure is, whatever technology it uses. I believe this shape is very important, and you're going to see that in a lot of the images coming up in the video. But just this is important. The guy sitting under there. Okay, and I'll just come out with it right now and let you in on what I was talking about. I believe that part of what these structures might be doing is actually giving these people health and life extension benefits. When you sit underneath these domes, when you sit underneath these stupas, I do believe that it might be very, very beneficial to a human being to do that, especially if you're directly underneath it. So you're going to see this theme a lot. So here's an image of a whole bunch of different stupas, and then these ones you can see you got the levels going up. These look, I guess, Buddhist, but in others you'll see the Hindus also have their own kind of version of it. This one I thought was interesting because they painted this face on the stupa, so you've got the dome, and then you've got the face, and then the stupa on top. And why that's interesting is because it shows the stupa as a headdress, and I'm going to get into that later in the video as well, and how these headdresses might be collecting or generating energy, beneficial healing energy if you're wearing the headdress, especially in the sunlight, I believe, because I believe as the energy, these could all potentially be, this antenna technology, let's call it, could potentially be involving the generation of energy from sunlight, because the sun is giving us so much electromagnetic energy as it passes by every day that a collection of that energy could very well be intensified, let's say at noon when the sun is beating down the most on your location. Potentially you're generating the most energy through these antennas. Also, you'll notice at the top of a lot of these stupas, they're going to be very intricate with designs everywhere, lots of surface area. And as you've seen in my previous videos, as well as I've talked about with surface area, I believe that that could potentially be important for getting more bang for the buck, getting better results. This is in China. It's called 108 stupas, and these were tampered with. These are not the original, I guess, design or exact. Maybe they are the exact location. I don't know, but I know that these have been worked on and redesigned. But this was an ancient site, and they've renovated it somewhat and changed it a little bit. But you can see you've got all the stupas going down, and then there's one big one at the top, and then down here at the bottom, they've got this in the fountain down here. They've got this pot, but this could be just replaced. Potentially, a person stands here. Does the energy then, based on the design, does it somehow get passed down? Maybe certain times of day is when you want. Is it when it's most beneficial to be either standing in front of it or maybe standing up here at the top? Okay, so now these are going to be from some ruins of some more ancient temples that and stupas that are built into these caves in, I think they're called Ajanta and maybe the Ellora caves or temples. These are like mud flood type buildings. I don't know if mud flood's not even the right type word, like cataclysmic flood, deluge, where I do believe that potentially this has all been not carved out of stone, not all just carved out of stone, but built with a material, got flooded with the soup, and now it looks like stone everywhere, or it was petrified and turned into stone over time. Um, but here at the back of it, you've got this stupa, and this is like a very important image because what you've got here is you've got the man sitting between the pillars, the two pillars, and then over top him he has the dome, and then above that is the stupa platform, and then typically above the platform you're going to have your antenna sticking up. And in this particular one, it's like the antenna is gone, it's missing. I don't know what is sitting up there. It's very strange. There's something sitting on top of this platform, and it does not look like a normal stupa antenna at all. I really don't know what that is. Also, you'll notice this dome structure right here. They put this ribbing a lot of times, this framework. I guess what we're looking at is the framework of the original build of the structure, but I do think there's another purpose to this ribbing as well. It's doing something. It's helping. Whatever effect the desired effect is of this thing. It's generating. It used to or still does do some sort of energy generation, I believe. And then there's going to be some more examples here. Here's another one. This one you'll see atop the platform, you've got the stupa still there. You'll see that again, structural ribbing above on the dome. You'll see how the stupa goes up through this, in this one, the center of the dome. Typically it will go always in the center of the dome. And again with the image of, instead of the man sitting, this time he's standing. Again, the two pillars under the dome-like structure, and with this archway over him, and then he's underneath the stupa, under the dome. So these are, again, this is an ancient design. I don't know how old, but I believe they're communicating through all this imagery to us. Here's another one in another one of the ruins, let's call it, and this time we don't see any guy or anything, but we do have a very large spherical, it almost looks like a boulder, but it's a circle, a dome, I guess you could call it, and with the stupa platform built atop it, and it's missing its tower. This one I thought was interesting because on the domed ceiling, um, you see these white markings everywhere up here, and it's almost like there was like something was energy was doing something here that would have discolored it in this way. I don't know where that came from, but I guess there's people out there that would say, oh, they had torches and somehow that's just the ash left over. I don't know. Here's another one of these mud flood ruins from, I believe, India. It's still in the this I believe in the Ajanta caves or system. Uh, this one's so cool. I mean, just look at all the carvings everywhere. It's just amazing. This one's got the guy sitting back here between the two pillars. He's a little creepier looking, I feel like, this one. It's almost like a Naga face or something on this guy. I don't know. But he looks more sinister or something sitting there. Above him on this one, there is no dome or anything. He's just kind of sitting there in the background, and then he's between like kind of two more pillars, or I guess, so there's a lot of pillar imagery right there. But on this one, what's interesting is you've got these levels going up right here in the middle of the room, and then above on the ceiling in the middle of the room is this flower structure. And I do believe that that's where, and then you can see that there was maybe something on top of this level here, but that was either broken off or, so this is removed, but I feel like that right there in the middle is where the action takes place in this room. Basically, you stand on top of this, and then whatever energy comes down from here comes directly down through this flower that's in the middle of the room. And I do believe that above this, if you were to go straight up from this location, there would have been some kind of a dome plus tower coming out, like a stupa would have been above this. And then you'd be down here getting the healing energy from it, or whatever the purpose of the energy is, I don't know. I'm going to guess for, let's say, life, longevity, healing purposes, because it's going to give you that vibrational energy that is going to vibrate every cell in your body at a certain frequency, and then that frequency, if once your body can resonate with it, will potentially give you all sorts of healing benefits. This is just a theory, by the way, that I came up with. I have no proof of any of that. It's just a feeling I'm getting. Here's also at, I believe, Ajanta, two pillars, the doorway that you go through, the straight platform above the pillars, and then again the dome above that, and then you've even got the ribbing. It's in a different way, but there's this ribbing, which I do believe is important. And then you'll see on this one the shape, so above your dome, you've even got the basically like the image of a stupa above the dome here. Just showing you. Always that same idea right there. So maybe this building was advertising like, hey, come in here for healing. I don't know. This is, I think, Allura, they call it. Super interesting. I'll probably have to do a whole video on this area. But atop this building, what you see is a stupa. It's got levels going up. Here's like a dome-like structure, and there would have been an antenna on top of this sticking out, and it would have very likely been made of metal. And that's another thing that we'll talk about, is the material that the antenna itself is made of. My theory is that it being metal, and a certain type of metal, is very important, so that you get better results. And then I'm willing to bet that in this building right here, at one time you would have gone in here, and then directly beneath the middle of this, down the center, there's an area probably marked in there very well where you'll know that that's the center, and you stand there or you sit there or you do whatever, you meditate in that spot for however long it takes. I suppose maybe these buildings are no longer functional in the way that they once were. And then there's just some more images of some other buildings that I'm just going to say that we'll get into a lot more of how these buildings are even, let's call it Western architecture is going to have a lot of similarities. So here you've got towers similar to stupas, I guess you could say. You've got this symmetry. In this one you've got these two towers, and in the middle you've even got pillars on the front of these two, and then the arched doorway. Um, and you've also got, and in a lot of other YouTubers have also done videos about how um, all these buildings, let's call them Tartarian or Phoenician, or these hidden history architecture buildings that potentially were generating energy or doing something, because you've got all this detail coming off everywhere. And like I was saying about surface area, creating all this additional surface area, and there may be a much better reason than just decoration for that. Okay, and so my idea is that potentially the fact that their surface area might be the only thing that's important. The imagery that you see or the shapes that are being created might not be as important as you think, other than potentially like the domes really helping or something like that. But in this particular instance, let's say this in the courtyard here, you would go out and you would sit underneath this little, it's pillars with a dome, and then atop that you can actually see where the antenna once stood. This right here at the top would have held your antenna up here, okay, and it's missing now because they don't want you to know about this technology anymore. And you would have stood or sat beneath it right here during the day, maybe during when the sun was most intense, like between 11 and 1 o'clock would be maybe the best possible time you could be sitting here, and then you would be getting all the benefits, okay, of the technology. Now let's keep going so I can get through. I got a lot of pictures to show you guys. Here's just another good example of these towers, arched doorways in the center. Even the arch above this cymatic pattern image, coming to this point, not being a perfect arch, but having that slight point to it. And the last image in this will just be, this is going to talk about how a tuning fork, so if you have identical tuning forks, they resonate at the same pitch. You just have to resonate one. I just screen grabbed this off a YouTube video where he hits it, and he stops the one after he's hit it with a mallet, and the other one's still resonating. It's getting essentially the free energy from the other tuning fork because they're both resonating at the same frequency. Now once he takes this weight down here and puts it on there, it no longer can catch the resonant frequency. I believe that this idea right here might very well be involved in this technology that we're talking about, this hidden technology. And then let's go ahead and move over to our next set of images, which is going to be domed build. I titled this one "Domed Buildings" because that idea of pillars with a dome and then a stupa atop is what we're going to be looking at here. So we're going to look at a lot of different buildings that are using this concept. So what I'm saying is that in this building, what you would do, even today potentially, or especially back when it was first built, you would go somewhere underneath. Probably this middle dome would be the best, directly beneath the middle if there's an area spot marked out, and that's where you're going to get the most benefits. Or is it generating electricity? Maybe these 4 towers somehow working with this tower and then giving you electricity to the whole building or something like that. Maybe there's an electrical current being created that goes down and then it can be harnessed and then used. We'll talk about that too. So this is Uzbekistan. There's going to be a lot of pictures from this location. It's a really cool location, but very good examples of, I would say, stupa imagery, towers, levels, lots of surface area on the outside of especially this tower right here. Um, Domes with perfectly symmetrical domes with antennas coming out the top. This would be in the middle of the one of these domes there. Now my question about this image is you have a very bright chandelier hanging, and I do not see where the wire or how you would get this electrical wire hidden. So I'm wondering where the heck the electrical wire for this is coming, or is there something more going on here that we're not being told about this chandelier? Could the antenna above be just directly connected to a wire that's powering this? I guess is what I'm saying. I mean, somehow, I mean, how would you turn it on at night though, right? So there must be wiring hidden behind all of this. I mean, is this even removable? I don't know. Here's a better close-up of that tower. Lots of surface area. Here's another building nearby. Here's that doorway with the kind of coming to the point, dome, and then antenna on top. Just a theme that you're going to see over and over and over again. This one I found interesting because here's the doorway with the point coming to the point. You're going to see that a lot in the Islamic buildings. Quite a bit they use that one, but also on the inside of this I found it very interesting because you've got all this ribbing type thing going on, and you'll see that a lot too in these ancient structures, and I do believe this is part of this, whatever technology it's utilizing. It's somehow using that to do something. Here you'll see that I'm going to call it a stupa on top of the building. The 3-4 leveled antenna. You'll notice too it's gold. Now is this gilded? Is it pure gold? Is it not even gold at all? Is it just a fake gold? Don't know. I believe if this were to be somehow energy generating, that it is in fact real gold, at a very minimum gilded. I would have to say that it would be a bare minimum something like gilded bronze or gilded silver, to get the effects, to get the maximum effects that you're looking for. And the reason being that gold would be the best conductor of electricity other than silver. So that's why gold and silver are going to be really good materials for these antennas. Copper being the third best. So that's why if you're trying to save money, you're going to be using copper and bronze instead, or like a gilded bronze or a would make sense, I think. Here you've got at the entrance to this building structure area, you've got two towers with the doorway shaped, kind of pointed at the top doorway. Here's an image from inside one of the other buildings in Uzbekistan that this blogger had on their site that took a lot of the other pictures. And this one you can see it still has these wood pillars that are carved, potentially showing us what the mud flood type buildings may have been before they became stone. So this is how you'd get all that intricate design like that, and saying that it's carved from stone. But the cool thing about this one, I do believe that this square with this hole going up in the middle here, what this is this is one of those areas where you're going to go stand directly beneath this, because probably above this there is an antenna, a dome, maybe a dome, or just at least a bare minimum a stupa or an antenna directly above that, and you're going to get your benefits directly beneath this hole right here in the ceiling. There's some towers. And going up, platform, dome, antenna. Looks like there's windows, so you can go up in here, very likely getting the sitting right here in the middle, probably getting the most benefit maybe right there. Potentially. I typically would think the benefit would be at the bottom location, and then it goes down, but and it becomes more intense at the bottom. But, don't know. Here's another good one. Two towers, dome structure, pointed dome structure on this one. Missing its antenna, but I would have to think at one point there maybe was one that's missing now. Here's another one. In this one you'll notice too, pointed dome with that same technology on the inside. Wonder what it's doing. And there you on this one, dome antenna. And then if you'll remember from, and then real quick I'm going to go back to one of our previous images. Where I just want to prove to you that there's something to this, guys. This is a totally different, supposedly, culture right here. And why are they showing us... Why are they showing us the... this is supposedly, one of them's Islamic and the other one's, I guess, Buddhist or something. And I don't know. It's just very interesting. Especially this one. I mean, just you'll see this one everywhere. I just picked one image off the internet, but there's probably dozens or hundreds of these locations and it's just like it's so similar. The guy sitting there, he's beneath the pointed dome. And then here in this one you've got the doorway, and then behind him, I guess, he's not really sitting in the center of the dome, but behind him you've got the dome with the antenna. All right, let's keep going. Here's one where you've got two towers. Here you're beneath the center of the dome on this one right here. Here's another one. This one's gold. This one's got some gold towers over here too. Potentially, that's another theory I'm also working on with these two towers plus the dome tower. You see that one a lot, and I do believe that potentially they're working together. All the towers are working together as one structure. Especially this particular image is pretty important because it shows the two towers with the dome and the antenna, and then the other two towers which are askew. They're not in the same line. Like there's a certain angle that these other two will always be at. And those ones will align with the doorway that opens and you go in. So it's interesting because I found that exact design in more than one location. And I believe this is one of them. So the last image you saw, you'll see how so two towers over here. You can see these are kind of working as one, especially since they're both they're all gold. And then these are off kind of separate. And then you've got these two towers, these two smaller ones, and then this doorway. So let's look at the next image again. Similar kind of thing going on over here on this one. This one was underneath just a random image of underneath one of these domes in Uzbekistan. And I just thought this one was really cool looking, but also interesting because of this image right in the middle here, the six-pointed star inside the swirling pattern. Very interesting. And then inside the star, it looks like a six-petaled lotus, maybe? So, this building's really cool. I can't remember, is this one in Venice potentially? I could be wrong. But this one's just got, I might have to do a whole video just on this building because it's got so much going on. But just towers everywhere, antennas just everywhere, all kinds of different antennas with all this surface area, just domes. And this one even interesting too because in the very center piece you've got your pillars, you've got your arched doorways, you've got these arched doorways in levels coming out, which is another thing that you'll see sometimes. And then even at the top of this one it comes to the pointed dome shape. So I thought that was interesting because it comes to the pointed dome on top of the regular dome. So this one just got it all. This building. Just tons of imagery everywhere on this one. Really cool. I would love to visit this location. And these red poles, these guys, if you've watched some of the mud flood videos or old Tartaria hidden history videos and stuff, you're gonna know that these were not flag poles. They use them as that nowadays, but they were part of the free energy technology system. Because if you look at all the old pictures, they never had flags on them. They were just poles. This is a pretty neat building. I think this is in Russia, St. Petersburg maybe. Just towers to the dome everywhere and antennas on top and lots of surface area. As you can see, the cross in this case giving us lots of surface area, lots of other little crosses being created after that. And then this one, it's got that sort of amphitheater thing I was telling you about with the levels coming out that you'll see. So I do believe that that's part of the technology that they're telling us about, as well as the pointed dome. Something with the pointed dome, because on this one it's got all the pointed domes and then the amphitheater domes inside. And that's just all over on this one. This is an Islamic site somewhere, potentially Uzbekistan or somewhere else. This one, you got domes, you've got towers, you've got antennas, all working together, pointed domes. Taj Mahal, same thing. Pointed dome doorway, behind it, large dome, stupa on top. This one I think is Bulgaria or Hungary, but I think it's Bulgaria. Just an amazing building. Go directly to the center, two towers on either side, dome, large stupa atop the dome. This is in the Vatican, I believe. What do they call this one? Is this Sistine Chapel? I'm not sure. So yeah, and in the different theme that you'll see is on top of the pillars, you've got the triangle instead of the pointed dome. So you'll see that in more of what you call the Roman style architecture, which is really, I guess, Phoenician. But you can see in this one, you got your pillars, you go in, you've got your dome, you've got your stupa atop the dome. In this one, just statues everywhere, surface area all over the building. Lots of surface area. This is Malaysia. In this case, there's only one large tower, but then you've got your surrounding buildings with their domes and towers. This is interesting. It's a little bit of a side topic, but we'll go through it in this video. This was a mural, that same blogger that I got a lot of these pictures from, this was a mural that was on the wall in Uzbekistan somewhere. And I thought it was a really interesting mural, so we'll talk a little bit about it. So what you've got, what I'm seeing in this mural is you've got this guy, and he looks fairly like Middle Eastern Arabic, and on the next, he's meeting with an African-looking guy. So this looks like a meeting of two different like tribes of people, and then there's like a third set of people down here, and they have this hair in front of the ear, and those I believe would be your Khazarians. And what I thought was interesting on this image is that the headdress that the guy wears, first of all, this guy with the headdress on, he's got lots of like feathers sticking out with all this like gold imagery, and then it's almost like he's wearing a stupa on his head because he's got the dome structure with the antenna sticking out. And it's almost like, okay, so is he getting health benefits from his headdress? And then you also see these, what I guess we're supposed to think are flasks for holding wine, but the neck is just so long and skinny on them that it's weird. Like up here in the mural, you see he's got like a jug. Now that looks like a wine jug. And then they've each got their own, like, I guess, cups to hold it in. But his wine jug, is it for wine? I mean, what is that? Is this like almost like a dome with an antenna on top, type of thing? So was this some sort of technology is what I'm getting at, instead of just a liquid, something to hold liquid in. So yeah, I don't know. It's just like a really cool mural that somebody said, just a random image that I thought was interesting and gave us some insight, maybe because this is a very old painting, I believe, and they were, giving us information about our hidden past through this. You can find a lot of information, data from things like this. Here's another larger version of it. It's not doesn't have as good a lighting, but here you can see more of the people surrounding. Okay, so next we're going to talk about let's just go into some of these mud flood buildings, as I've called them. These are actually all just from just a few images here. So San Francisco World Fair, they tore all the buildings down supposedly after, because they supposedly were all temporary structures. But again, just with the domes, towers atop, you'll see it everywhere in those images. This is, I guess, from the postcard from that 1915 World's Fair with these. Now, I do believe, like others, that these were actual real buildings that were destroyed on purpose by the Freemasons, I guess, to cover up history and erase history. Because they're saying that these were all just temporary buildings, but how it just seems ridiculous. But look at this stupa-looking building right here. The levels going up, the antenna. and they would light up like spectacularly at night. And if you look at them, it's just kind of bizarre how they light up. Especially this main tower right here. It's almost like it was generating its own light or something. You could watch some. There are definitely plenty of videos on there about that. That was just one. That was just one other topic. We'll go to the two pillars folder, I guess, because I'm just kind of randomly going through these. This is like from Freemasonry. They've got their two pillars, Jachin and Boaz. And what you'll often see on the with the two pillars is the dome between them. You won't always see it. And then in this one, they've got the G with the light. You'll also often see the ball earth and the what they depict as an image of like space in a ball, like outer space inside of a ball. And see, what I believe this is because ball earth is a lie, because earth is flat. I haven't talked about this in my other videos, but this will be the first time, I guess, that my viewers know what I think about that. I definitely came to the conclusion back in 2014, and it's already more than 5 years later now that I've discovered it. But you know, Earth's definitely flat, guys. It's not a ball. You're not on a spinning ball. So what these represent when they show this is, and also outer space. There is no outer space. So that's fake too. So this is, they're propping up fake ball earth and fake space is what these two pillars, I believe, is showing us. Is that because these are huge, huge lies. I mean, just beyond belief. You know how the people are brainwashed by this. So that's what I believe they're showing us when they show us the ball earth and the space ball, the outer space ball, is how those are the big lies that they're propping up on the pillars. And then you've got the, you know, I guess like a dome, you might call it a dome firmament. Let's go to the next one. Let's see. This one I don't think Freemasonic, but I think this one was called Gnostic or something. This some kind of a Gnostic image, but very similar to Freemasonic. You've got your two pillars, and this one they show a sun and a moon, and you'll see that in some of the other ones too. And then there's a dome above. Yeah, here's one, a Freemasonic. This one's just got more like balls. It doesn't really show them. But in this one, you'll see too that sun and moon are on either side, and then the eye in the middle, which you'll oftentimes see that too. The G or the I does not represent the sun usually. It usually represents something other than the sun shining down from the middle, and it's always in the exact center. Whereas you'll see the sun and the moon on either side. You know, is this the Vril energy? Is this the free energy or something like that representing coming down from the middle? This is an old Masonic apron. So this is the kind of thing that's valuable, guys, because these images haven't been scrubbed. You know what I mean? They haven't been censored. So you'll see what they really think when you look at the old Masonic stuff, right? So here we go. And this is folded down right now, but if it was folded up, I want you to imagine this would be a domed, and we don't get to see what's on the other side of this either. But very stupa-like imagery here. Two pillars. There's an, I mean, looks just like a stupa. Levels going up with the antenna this time being a person with their arm held up, just like the Statue of Liberty. You know, and as we know that's, you know, the kind of imagery that is. I should have added that to this video. I didn't actually get any Statue of Liberty images, but you can just imagine that's just another stupa antenna tower. But this one is quite an interesting old apron right here that I found. Even atop a dome. I didn't see that before, but there's a dome that the person stands on even. So nailed it right there, guys. I mean, we're on to something here. I'm onto something. We're onto something. Whoever believes in this, we're figuring this out. It's going to take us a while, but slowly but surely we are figuring this out. We are going to reclaim our birthright, you guys, our hidden past, the hidden history. It's exciting, man. This is supposedly what they depict as Solomon's temple with the two pillars. Now, Solomon's temple, I guess, doesn't have a dome structure or an antenna structure, but if you look at some of the other images of Solomon's temple, they show this behind these two pillars. They show this as a large tower going up and then a building behind it. So I'd have to research more into Solomon's temple to see if there is some way that they're hiding the fact that there was a dome, you know, a dome with a stupa, because it wouldn't surprise me at all if there was. We'll go look at just some Hindu temple images again, because I've talked about these in other videos, but here we've got some sort of antennas atop. On that one, over here we've got a very stupa-like looking antenna building with tons of surface area, lots of surface area on the outside of some of these temples. This one is Prabhanan Temple, and you can, I mean, just massive structures covered in these stupas and images and statues, but just stupas galore on these things. Just a massive site for whatever technology this is. And we're getting close to done, but I will get into just a couple of interesting images to finish us off here and some ideas. These are just some skyscrapers as well, so I'm also comparing them to the modern day buildings. But here we've got the very large antenna sticking out the top of this skyscraper. Even though there's not a lot of surface area, in fact, that's the whole thing about the modern buildings, is there's almost no surface area, or as little as possible on the outside of them, which is the complete opposite of the way they used to be. But still, you've got the very large antenna, which I do believe is feeding the grid system overall, and it's giving way more energy to the grid than what they give credit for. I do believe that these antennas are much more than just lightning rods or radio towers or cell phone towers. I think that there is absolutely something going on with because when they all tie into the grid together, there's a greater benefit happening, and you may be getting way overcharged on your electric bill every month compared to what they're actually doing to generate that electricity. Here's some more skyscrapers. This one might be the largest building in the world, but here you can see just a massive antenna, basically, that building. See, because the taller the better. The taller the structure, the more benefit you get, the more free energy you get. Now, probably also the surface area adds to it, but we just don't understand that as much anymore, or it's just being hidden. But just the fact that you have a very tall pole gives you a lot of benefit when it comes to this free energy generation technology, and I'm going to prove that to you here right now near the end of the video. What we're going to talk about is actually, I'll go through just a couple more tower images here. So cell towers, are they doing more than just giving us cell phone data? Are they potentially part of this grid? Eiffel Tower, is this part of a massive grid? Is this tower connected to the grid? That's what I want to know. Is this doing something more than what they're telling us, the Eiffel Tower? Here's some large cell phone towers. Or no, I'm sorry, radio towers. Are those doing more than just giving everyone radio? Are they connected into the grid system, adding to it? Here's some of the payload that's atop a radio tower. Looks very similar to cell phone technology. So what's going on there with all that? Here's Tesla towers. Does this tie into this technology? Absolutely, I believe so. Tesla technology is directly related to all of this. Here's his 1901, I guess, laboratory and tower. Here's one in 2008 in Texas that they're testing or using, doing something with. I'm going to show you just a couple of quick images of what are called electrostatic motors. They basically use static electricity, which is the free energy, guys. That's what static electricity is. It is the same thing. Um, you just have to be able to harness it in a way that is useful to where you can have real amounts of power that are useful amounts of power. Rubbing a balloon on your head and sticking it on the wall is fun, but it's not doing a lot of work for you. You need the amount of power that's going to be able to do work in your home, like run your washing machine and all those kind of things, heat your water, you know. Um, in this YouTube video, I just took a screen cap of it, but you can go watch these guys. They're called Rimstar.org. They use an electrostatic motor. They take a copper wire, they fly it up in the air to a height of 300 feet or so with a drone, and then they attach it to this electrostatic motor on the ground. You do not want to be grounded when this occurs. You want it to be just above the ground on an insulator, sitting on top of an insulator. Because if you touch the ground, you actually lose the electrostatic effect. All the maximum effect actually occurs at the top of the wire at that point rather than at the bottom. So this is a very important point to this technology, is that you actually don't want the bottom of the metal pole, let's say, or in this case a metal wire. You don't want it to actually be grounded. You want it to be on an insulator of some sort. And that's where you're going to then be able to harvest the energy at the bottom of that wire or of that pole, let's say. And in this, you can watch them once they fly the drone up there. They are getting free energy from it, just from the fact that there is a difference in the potential energy, I guess, or the electric energy at the top of the wire and at the bottom. Essentially, it generates a current, a small current, through the wire automatically, just free energy. And it's 100% real. It's 100% proven. There's no conspiracy about it. You can watch the motor just sit there and run, and then you could run whatever off of that motor is capable of giving you. In this case, it's such a small amount of electricity that it can only maybe turn on a very small light bulb or something, a very small LED bulb. But if you could harness it in a much more efficient way, you might get tons of energy from this technology. And then here's another image from that video. And you know what? I'll put a link to this video in the description of this video that you guys can go watch for yourselves. And you can see how this plastic crate he's got it on top. That's so that it's not grounded, so that because you don't want your copper wire to actually be, or your motor to be sitting on the ground. You want it to be on an insulator like that. And for the final part of the video, I'm going to also ask the question, is that what these old crowns and scepters and headdresses, is that what we're kind of looking at here as well with some of that stuff? So here we've got the Queen of England. She's got her crown, which has like almost a dome with the tower coming out atop her head, and then she holds on to the metal rod, which would either be made of gold, silver, or brass, or gilded brass, or something like that. And they'll often put crystals and things in those now. Does that have an effect? Could you go out in the sun, in the sunshine, and hold these things up to the sky and get benefits? And then there's also this like what's called, I guess, the holy hand grenade, where it's an orb with like a cross on top of it. So it's again like a dome or a sphere or a dome with an antenna sticking out. And this is an image from Queen Victoria. And there she has her golden crown, golden staff, golden orb with its antenna sticking out, all potentially giving her health benefits. Here's a small image of some of the crown jewels. Here's an old hieroglyphic image from Egypt or something where you've got the elongated skull hat that he wears. Now, is that because he has an elongated skull? Because we know those are real. Those creatures, humanoids, did exist. Could we even call them human? Not really, because their skull has actually different like fissures in it. Like it's got different ways that it connects together than the regular Homo sapien skull. The elongated skull, and it has these two little dots in the top too. But is this just a headdress that's potentially giving benefit? He's got holding a staff. Over here on the left, you've got another person with holding a staff, and then atop they have like what looks like a stupa, much more like a Buddhist type of stupa type atop their head, and then they're holding like an ankh. And is that kind of like similar to a holy hand grenade, right? It's a circle with the cross. This would be like an old pope, like an image of I think an old pope or something. And then he's got the old style of hat they used to wear, which was not the fish head, but the stupa type of head, or more of a dome with the antenna on top. And then he's got the multi-cross, which is more like I think that's called a Baphomet, which is weird because I don't know why they call this shape the Baphomet when there's also the like god, the Baphomet god. I don't know what relation there is between those two things, but I do think that this Baphomet shape is definitely part of the energy harvesting, just giving you more surface area. And then here's some old images of like older popes and things, or I don't know if this guy was a pope or not, but they've all got that similar headdress. And it does have that elongated skull as well look to it. And then here's a guy from somewhere in Asia, Malaysia or something like that, or maybe Thailand, this one. But there he's got the stupa atop his head. So, does this headdress right here, does he wear this to, let's say you wear it 1 hour a day and you only age half as fast, or you don't age at all? Just a thought. And then the other thing you'll see, instead of the like holy hand grenade in the second hand, you'll see another staff. So that's another image you'll see a lot of with these crowns, and then the two staves. And I'm not sure what the two scepters or staves means. I think maybe these could be like the two towers. This could be a different phase of the energy, or different type of energy generation where you hold up the two staves. It's just a different version of it. Here's an Egyptian, again, headdress, kind of is this a stupa atop the head? Here's a holy hand grenade that you would hold. These guys are from Orthodox Russia, I think. This guy was a Russian czar, I believe. And exact same imagery you'll see with the English monarchs. And that's Napoleon right there. And a lot of times, sometimes you'll see him wearing gloves and sometimes you won't. And I would have to think that you wouldn't get the benefits from the technology if you were wearing the gloves. I would think you would want to be skin contact to the metal. That's just what I would suspect anyway. In this one, he's just got ungloved hands, and he's holding the two staves, and he's got the crown. here's a crown with the dome atop it. Small antenna on top of that. This one's got a ton of surface area just all over it. Really cool looking too. So I think that is all I got for you guys on this one. I don't think there's a whole lot more to talk about. I'm going to keep researching this topic. I will probably come back and do videos like this in the future where we don't really look at anomalies, but rather we look at other types of other topics that are kind of. But I'm still going to be doing anomaly videos as well, so I'm going to do both. But you'll see a lot of different things on this channel. I'm not going to be sticking to just one topic all the time. So hopefully that keeps you coming back, and I'll keep trying to make it interesting and keep trying to make you think on every video. So thanks a lot. Have a good one. Please do hit the like and subscribe and notifications and all that, and share this one out to everyone. And I will see you on the next one. Thanks. Bye.